Well, it's time for a look back. That's right, we're going to look back at not all, several of our past episodes here in the Outdated Entertainment Hour. We're going to look back and give you updates on a lot of your favorites. So stay tuned, whatever you do. Get yourself a nice hot toddy, cup of coffee, or a baguette, and enjoy this look back on the Outdated Entertainment Hour. My lumbago. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Outdated Entertainment Hour. My name is Bob Smith, and we are so glad to have you back here. First off, I want to apologize about something. Seriously. January, February, and March here at my company have been absolutely crazy. Recently, I found myself in the position of having to record, something like 8 episodes of the Outdated Wrestling Hour in about 5 days. In addition, I still work for a media company, and they too lost their minds as the calendar turned from December to January, finding myself with very, very little time on my hands. So it's been a long time since our last episode to this one, but I promise you I'm going to catch up and get back to the every 2-week schedule as soon as I can. In the interim, we're going to give you this little teaser episode, not really a teaser and not really a filler. We're going to bring you up to date of some of your favorite people that you've heard about here on the Outdated Entertainment Hour. So here comes Joe Walsh. He's going to tell you about ham radio. Yes, ham radio. And we're going to come right back with updates on some of the stories we have covered on our previous episodes. We think you'll get a boot out of this. It won't take long, so hang tight. We will be right back.
Hi, everybody. This is Joe Walsh. One thing I do when I'm not playing rock and roll is get on the air as an amateur radio operator. Also called ham radio, is a communication service provided by ordinary people just like you and me. Ham radio operators are everywhere, in your city, your area, your neighborhood, in any country you go to. We have a national emergency communication system in place 24/7, 365. In case of natural or man-made disasters, earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes, floods, you name it, we're there. Find out more about amateur radio at arrl.org/whatishamradio. See you on the air.
All right, now let's take a look back at some of our favorite shows because there's been updates and news for a lot of the things we've covered. So let's go. Now, based on the feedback we got recently, a lot of you fell in love with Tony Coleman. He's the legendary drummer for B.B. King and worked with the King of the Blues for over 30 years. Well, he's got something new going on as Sold Out presents Tony Coleman, a tribute to the Kings. It's a band that looks back at all the greats of blues music, including, of course, Mr. B.B. King. They're going to be playing at the Jack London Review in Portland, Oregon on Saturday, June 14th. 7 o'clock doors, show at 8 o'clock. Tony Coleman, new project, a tribute to the Kings. If you're into the blues, soul, and R&B, you will not want to miss a tribute to the Kings featuring the great Tony Coleman. One of our earlier shows was a show about Americana music and what it means or what it may not mean. But we had a guest who was a current artist in that genre, sort of, in Long Island's Pete Mancini. Well, a lot of his fans really loved that show because the numbers that we got proved it. And I want you to know that as I say these words, Pete has just come out with a brand new album, American Equator. 10 brand new tracks, and he rocks harder and writes better than he ever has in his whole career. This is a big one for Pete, including your lead-off single, Calamity People. It's quite a piece of work. Great musicians, great songwriting. We know you're fans of Pete Mancini out there. It's really, really good. And I'm going to request that you listen to him through a certain way. Forget Spotify and all that other stuff. Find him on Bandcamp, all right? Not only are the prices cheaper and the quality of the music better, but you know what? Musicians these days are having trouble getting paid. When they get played on Spotify, they get bupkis. So I insist, just like Pete does, find him at Bandcamp. If you order the CD, you get the digital sounds right along with your purchase. And it's well worth seeking out. Again, Pete Mancini has a brand new album, American Equator. You're going to want to hear this one. It's going to be a big deal, I promise you. Another popular show we did about music was about the Guess Who. A lot of Guess Who news. This is actually old news, but if you haven't heard it, I'm going to let you know this. Burton Cummings and Randy Bachman from the original band filed suit in October 2023 against original members Jim Cale and Gary Peterson over false advertising claims. They weren't happy with the fact that what essentially in their eyes was a fake band was running around calling itself the Guess Who. Well, that suit has been settled. The Guess Who trademark is now in the hands of Cummings and Bachman. And it doesn't even mean that the original Guess Who are going to reform or anything of that nature. What it does mean, though, is you're not going to see the name The Guess Who on a marquee somewhere, and you'll see a bunch of faces you don't recognize. I think that's a healthy thing for the music industry, and I hope it starts a trend. But there's more Guess Who news. As I speak, there was a debut on YouTube brought to you by the producers of the Midnight Special, the 1975 hosting appearance, their last time hosting it, of the Guess Who, featuring Dominic Triano in his only appearance. And what a show. It also has the Charlie Daniels Band and Montrose, featuring Sammy Hagar, by the way, very young, and the Spencer Davis Group. And it's nothing but rock and roll, the whole show. But you will find out what a slick, tight, colorful, changed band the Guess Who was around 1975 when Dominic Triano joined the group. And boy, were they good. You're really going to like this. Find it right now on YouTube. The Midnight Special featuring the Guess Who from 1975. You will not regret it. We did a show about the Three Stooges as well. Going from the Guess Who did the Three Stooges. There's a segue for you. But at the time, I told you that you could find every Three Stooges original Columbia short on the Tubi streaming network. Well, now I'm finding out you can find the same thing on other streaming platforms, including Amazon. What you're looking for with the Three Stooges at any streaming service is a placard, just like we have for our podcast. It's just a sign that says the Three Stooges Plus Comedy Gold Standard. That's all of them, from Women Haters, the first short, all the way to a remake with Joe Besser, which was the last thing they did in the 50s. In any event, it's well worth seeking out. If you're a Stooge fan and you don't want to invest in, buying them as streaming or buying the DVDs, you can see every single short now in a variety, but Tubi TV, Amazon Prime, and I'm sure there's others too. Golden age for watching the Stooges, I am telling you. Joe Pucciano and I are going to do a follow-up on our most successful episode to date. That's the Rock and Roll Replacements. Everybody really seemed to like that episode. I know many more right off the top of my head, and I think Joe does too. So we're going to do a little bit of research and come back at you soon with Operation number 2, the Rock and Roll Replacements redo, or however they pronounce that word. Also, Brian R. Solomon, the esteemed author and writer, will be back with us, and we're going to talk, I think, a little bit more about exploitation or drive-in films. That'll be a lot of fun. We have done shows on classic TV. We did a show on just the sitcoms. We did a show, Hollywood's all-time best series, the TV 100, with Steve Gennarelli. We did Christmas entertainment, strictly holidays. We did the legacies of SCTV and SNL. And we've got a lot more entertainment in film and TV coming your way, including a show. I'm going to debut John Pine on the show, the famous writer from New York and Florida. He's done a lot of reviews in his time, and we're going to look at 10 underrated comedy films. Some of these you may have seen, but some of you may have not. They either suffer from spotty distribution or just the fact that somehow they got lost in the shuffle. And sometimes the passage of time gets in the way. Like one of these films, the lead actor won the Academy Award for Best Actor in 1974. Can you name it? I'll bet you can't. We're doing a show on 10 underrated comedy films with John Pine coming up next on the Outdated Entertainment Hour. So it's been a really great journey so far, and I've really enjoyed doing this show. It gives me an opportunity to look back things that I really loved. I really enjoyed the one I did with Steve Gianarelli, but we just played with toys. We talked about the famous toys that we used, the Kenner stuff, the Mattel stuff, the stuff we grew up really enjoying. Everything from a Super Bowl to incredible edibles from Mattel, all the Whammo stuff. It's just nostalgia is the name of the game with the Outdated franchise, which now includes both the Outdated Entertainment Hour and Outdated Wrestling Hour. So I wanted to say a few words here about, we're going to be back as soon as we can, hopefully next week, with a new show all about 10 underrated comedy films. So until then, this is Bob Smith. We appreciate your listening ears, so to speak. You can write to us at Outdated Entertainment with any ideas you may have. Maybe you have a concept we haven't thought of yet. I'd love to hear them if you've got one. Also, we have a website, outdatedentertainment.buzzsprout.com. All of our episodes are there to listen. So if you've missed a few that we talked about, well, go ahead and listen. They're right there for free. I will never Patreon anybody on any of my podcasts. Podcasts are supposed to be free in my eyes. That's just the way it is. I will not stray from that. Podcast is available everywhere podcasts are distributed pretty much. But if you want a list, here we go. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Podcast Index, Overcast, iHeartRadio, Podcast Addict, Castro, Castbox, Podchaser, Pocket Cast, Deezer, Listen Notes, Player FM, Good Pods, and True Fans. And of course, you can always hear it at the website, outdatedentertainment.buzzsprout.com. Write to us at outdatedent@gmail.com. Any comments you might want to have, feel free. If you like it, you don't like it, you want to see some changes, I got Teflon. I like to hear all of it. So anyway, we've had a lot of fun with this show so far. And again, we apologize for the lack of shows the last couple of weeks. We missed one. Usually I would announce it when I do miss one, but things just got away. Life got in the way for a second. I am a busy boy, but you know what? The fact that I was able to segue into a second podcast, I have to thank all of you who followed us from the first podcast over to the second. And if you like the second, please subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast and tell a friend. This is a general interest podcast, not kind of a niche like the wrestling podcast is. This one is for everybody. And we're going to try to keep the language clean, and we're going to try to have everybody get involved. So if you like old school entertainment like we do, here's your spot, the Outdated Entertainment Hour. I'm Bob Smith. I'm the old writer and editor. We will see you next time with 10 underrated comedy films. As Shemp Howard would say, Rome wasn't built in a day, neither was Syracuse. Attention, Gen Xers. If you'd like to explore the era that appeals to you, look no further than GenerationXWire.com. It's a generation who grew up with elite in entertainment, music, movies, TV, books, pro wrestling, and more, finally has a one-stop destination for all their Gen X needs. From Aerosmith to Batman to the Killer Bees to the Twilight Zone, there's something for everybody at GenerationXWire.com. You won't find a more eclectic mix of pop culture content than at the leading website that specializes in the greatest generation, GenerationXWire.com. Check it out today.